So, what does it really look like when a society just crumbles from the inside out? Today, we're going to dissect an ancient, but honestly, an eerily relevant blueprint for exactly that, right from the book of Isaiah. It's a pretty powerful look at what happens when a nation's foundations are just pulled right out from under it. And that really gets you thinking, right? What are the pillars that actually support a functioning, stable society? I mean, is it the economy? Our military strength? Our leaders? What is it really? Because Isaiah chapter 3, it doesn't just predict a fall. It gives us this chillingly detailed, step-by-step autopsy of a failed state. It's literally a blueprint for how a nation completely unravels. Okay, so to really get this, we've got to set the scene. We are in the Kingdom of Judah, late 8th century BCE. And this is a really tense time. You've got the ruthless Assyrian Empire on the rise, posing a huge threat. This wasn't a time of peace and quiet. This was a nation living on the edge. And right away, you hit this really important title for God, the Lord of Hosts. Now, this isn't just some fancy name. The text is making a point. This isn't a passive, distant God. This is a divine commander, the one who is actively and intentionally orchestrating the events that are about to go down. And that, well, that changes everything. And this is where we get to the absolute heart of the matter. This collapse, it's not shown as some random accident or a string of bad luck. No, the text describes a deliberate, intentional deconstruction. God is systematically removing the very things the people had put all their trust in. All right, so let's watch how this whole thing unravels, because it's like a domino effect, a devastating one. We're about to see what happens when a nation's infrastructure, both the physical stuff and the human leadership, is taken apart, piece by piece. And it starts with the most fundamental things you can imagine: bread and water, the very basics of survival. And then, bam, one by one, every single form of human leadership and expertise is gone. The military, the courts, spiritual guides, political advisors, even the skilled craftspeople. Every single pillar they relied on is just kicked out from under them. And what happens next is this: just total, terrifying flip of the entire social order. Everything gets turned on its head. Wise, experienced elders are replaced by immature kids. Respect for authority, gone. The whole fabric of their culture is just ripped to shreds, and all that's left is chaos and people turning on each other. I mean, can you imagine how desperate things have to get? The leadership vacuum is so complete that people are literally grabbing anyone who has even the smallest sign of status, like a cloak, and begging them, "Please, you be our ruler. Take charge of this heap of ruins." But of course, nobody wants the job. There's nothing left to lead. So you have to ask, why? Why is all this happening? Well, the text is brutally clear. It says the problem is that the corruption isn't even hidden anymore. It's being flaunted openly, a kind of shameless defiance against the very moral order that was supposed to hold their society together. Okay, so after painting this huge, chaotic picture of society, the focus suddenly zooms in. It gets really specific. Like a prosecutor in a courtroom, it points the finger directly at the nation's leaders, the elite class. They're the ones being held responsible. And the language here is so intentional. It's formal, it's legal. It says, "The Lord has taken his place to contend. He stands to judge." It's like a divine courtroom is being called to session, and God is both prosecutor and judge, confronting the people in charge face to face. And listen to these charges. They aren't vague, they are specific, and they are brutal. They're accused of devouring the vineyard, which is a metaphor for the whole nation. The text says the spoil of the poor is in your houses. They're accused of crushing my people, and even grinding the face of the poor. It's a picture of just visceral, vicious economic exploitation. And from that economic exploitation, the critique then pivots to the culture that fueled it. The daughters of Zion, the elite women of the capital, are held up as the symbol for this whole prideful, self-absorbed society, totally disconnected from all the suffering they're causing. And the consequence of all this vanity? It's one of the most shocking reversals you'll find. For every single symbol of their luxury and their status, there's an equal and opposite symbol of humiliation and grief. Perfume becomes stench. A designer belt becomes a prisoner's rope. Beautiful hair is replaced by baldness, a sign of mourning. And beauty itself is replaced by the brand of a slave. It is a total public takedown. Okay, so that was almost 3,000 years ago. Why are we even talking about this today? Why does it still hit so hard? Well, let's zoom out and look at the timeless lessons about justice that people have drawn from this for centuries. Well, when you really break it down, commentators point to these three timeless truths. First, this idea of divine sovereignty, that God is not a bystander, he's active in history, especially in humbling human pride. Second, accountability. No one gets a free pass, especially leaders. There are always consequences. And third, pretty simply, a culture built on vanity and exploitation will, eventually, cause its own ruin. And that, of course, brings the question right to us, doesn't it? What are our modern creature confidences, as one writer put it? What are the man-made systems, the technologies, the economic models that we put all our trust in? And how fragile might they actually be? And you can't read this chapter with its fierce defense of the poor without asking ourselves a really tough question. In our own culture, which often celebrates wealth and power, who's filling that role? Who is speaking up for the vulnerable and the exploited? So, in the end, what are we left with? It's this haunting warning, this final image. It's really a call to look at our own foundations, to take justice seriously, to champion the cause of the poor, lest, as the chapter ends, our own gates lament and mourn in ruins. It's a timeless reminder that a society's real strength, well, it's measured by how it treats its most vulnerable people.